episode 8 of Speakin Sox. I'm Aiden.
I'm Ben.
And we're excited to bring you episode 8, like I just said. Year just started, all right? Season started.
Mm-hmm.
Red Sox are 2-3 right now. Just won against the Detroit Tigers today, earlier. And it was a pretty gritty performance.
Yeah.
Big win.
Yep.
You know, you need to get a win like that, especially against the Tigers, even though that they are putting together a pretty solid squad nowadays.
And I know it's a 162-game season, but starting 1-4, that'd be a real kick in the nuts.
Yeah.
To be honest, that'd be a rough
Definitely.
way to start the season. So, really good that they were able to pull this one out, and I really liked the way that they got it done. I thought that Rich Hill performed. I know it was only in four innings, I believe it was.
4 innings and an out, yeah.
So, I thought he played well. He got a little unlucky. I didn't think those runs were necessarily his fault.
Yeah.
I thought he pitched his ass off, to be honest. And if he can come out and perform like that every start and be a consistent pro, which is exactly what the Red Sox need from him, I think it'll be a perfect fit. And one thing I also want to mention is you can argue that getting Rich Hill was our response to losing Erod. They had identical stats today. So if we're talking about replacing Erod, we did a pretty good job with that with Rich Hill. So I got to give Heim some credit for that.
The big thing for Rich Hill is going to be staying healthy and eating innings.
Mm-hmm.
And if he can go 4 to 5 innings.
And I think we can use him, not to cut you off, sorry. If we can use him in a few big relief moments, I think that would be huge.
I agree. He's got great stuff. That's a big thing always late in games. But so like I was saying, season opener, we faced the Yankees, and tough loss in the first game. We lose on a walk-off. I was at the game. Atmosphere was electric. We actually had a video that we posted on our social media page that Complex Sports reposted. It was a chant of F. Trey Young after the Yankees won, because Yankee fans are crazy. We all know that. And it actually got reposted by Complex Sports and received over, I believe, 1 million views on Twitter. So definitely check that out. But at the game, great atmosphere. Terrible atmosphere when you leave.
Yeah.
Knowing that the Sox lost.
Yep.
Every Yankee fan you walk past curses you out.
Oh, yeah.
Even though they won. So, but just what do you think about that whole series with the Yankees?
I was really disappointed, to be honest. I know it's early, obviously, but it left a bad taste in my mouth because as a Red Sox fan, obviously I hate losing to the Yankees, but opening day, I feel like they just lost that game 4 or 5 different times. They just kind of handed it away to the Yankees. I don't think the Yankees were the better team.
No.
I think we just handed them at least the first game. The second game, they just beat us, but the first one, we really just handed it away to them, and it was just really frustrating, especially seeing that bullpen struggle right out of the gate. That was really frustrating.
Well, yeah, so like you were saying, the first game, I was there, and watching us bring in Hansel Robles.
Oh, my God.
I believe it was the 9th.
Oh, my God.
To try to push. I had a heart attack. I told all my Yankee friends that I went with, I was like, listen, if you like money, bet the Yankees money line right now, because there's no shot he gets out of it. Surprisingly enough, he did get out of it. Pressed me a little bit there, but the fact that we're going in a big game opener against the Yankees, we're going to Robles to push us into extra innings. That's crazy to me. That shows you what the bullpen is.
He led the bigs in home runs allowed last year.
Yeah, and he's not only that, he's one of those guys that either allows the home run or he's wild as can be. He's sort of like Chapman when he loose cannons and throws the ball all around the yard, or he's just throwing fastballs that get absolutely raked to left field. So it was very interesting to me seeing that happen. Happy that he did end up pushing and nobody was hurt there. Obviously, in extras, we did lose it. But more thoughts about that game. And even not even just that game, but just the beginning of the year. This bottom of the lineup is, and we're going to get to that a little bit more, this bottom of the lineup is struggling.
Yeah, it really is. And it's really disappointing to see. But, I think Cora can adjust the lineup a little bit based on what he's seen. Another thing that we saw the other day, Michael Conforto, a free agent right fielder.
Red Sox are interested.
We were talking about this earlier. That'd be a perfect fit. I think I love Jackie Bradley, a great fielder. He can't hit right now. It's nothing personal against him. He can't hit right now. He can when he gets hot, but to be honest, it's kind of few and far between.
It is, and no Jackie Bradley slander. We love him here.
We love Jackie.
In fact, there's a possibility that we get him on the podcast soon enough. We're in the works. We'll hopefully have that coming for you guys soon. But
listen,
I mean,
2018 ALCS.
Oh my gosh,
MVP,
and he was clutch. He was
unbelievable.
He was just as clutch of a hitter, if not more.
That's what I'm saying. When he's hot, he's hot. When he's feeling comfortable in the batter's box, he can get a hold of the ball and drive it. So
exactly.
But hopefully he does start to do that.
It's no secret that in this era of baseball, you need hitters. If you can't consistently hit and get on, it's tough to keep your spot in the lineup. But JBJ, great fielder, like we said.
Probably the best fielder on the Red Sox, I would say, by far.
Easily. But another thing, if we do bring in Conforto, that's a guy who had +3 defensive runs saved, DRS, an advanced sabermetric stat if you're into that. But another thing about that is that's right under the above average line. Not super spectacular. He was, I believe, close to winning a Gold Glove. I don't think he did win a Gold Glove, but he was close to it on the Mets. Had some incredible plays in the outfield. And the big thing about that is he's a hitter. Mm-hmm. If you can get a guy in him hitting at 8th in your lineup, I would kind of compare it to a guy like Chris Taylor on the Dodgers hitting 8th.
Yeah, I would too. I would too.
And even more pop than Chris Taylor.
And this is part of the reason that it hurt me so much that we didn't get, say, a Suzuki, and he opted to go to the Chicago Cubs. 2 home runs today, 3 on the season. I believe if he hasn't hit double-digit RBIs already, he's pretty damn close.
He might be the first one to do it this year. So,
and I believe the Cubs have a winning record right now, if I'm not wrong.
They look pretty good.
They honestly, they don't look bad. Again, it's early.
Definitely early.
Don't want to overreact to their hot start, but he's just a freaking superstar. So imagine if we had him in there with Raffy and Xander and JD, who I think JD is playing very well. I love the way he's seeing the ball. I believe he's only batting .250 thus far, but he got one yesterday against the Tigers. He absolutely drove it. So I think JD is going to prove a lot of people wrong this year.
Good, and I mean, if he does, this lineup's going to be dangerous, especially if we could figure out what's going on in the bottom.
Lineup can be dangerous, however, I think it needs to be reworked. I think Cora needs to get in there
and
figure out the right balance.
We were discussing it. I do think that I like Verdugo hitting around 5th where he is. Mm-hmm. I do think it would be cool if we threw him at hitting first.
I agree.
Just because Kike isn't cutting it right now. I have a little bit of a statistic for you guys. Going into before today's game, the win against the Tigers.
2 hits today.
Yeah, 2 hits today.
And a walk. He had a great game today.
Exactly, yeah.
He did have a great game
today. Before this game, JBJ, Christian Vasquez, and Kike, 8, 9, and 1 hitters, had just 1 hit, I believe, going into today's game. I think maybe 2 it might be. But 1 or 2 hits, unacceptable.
And also, another thing that's unacceptable, and it is related, I believe they were getting no hit yesterday against the Tigers.
Yeah, for a while.
5 innings. 4 or 5 innings.
Well, against Matt Manning, who is a top prospect for the Tigers, but he's not proven in the MLB.
No, he's not proven. And this lineup is, look at all to me, in baseball, maybe more than any other sport, being an established, known player in the league, it does a lot for you, because with that comes the confidence. We were talking about this, I believe, couple episodes ago. The confidence when you're in that batter's box, when you're on the field, when you're feeling good about your game, that's when you're performing the best, especially in baseball. So I think that when you have an established lineup like that, like the Red Sox have, so many World Series champions in that lineup, you can't
put up a dud like that.
You can't put up a dud like that, especially against a prospect.
For sure. I agree. I mean, same thing you were saying. We talked about it. Another thing is, going into today's game, obviously, like I said, today's game, we kind of got the offense a little bit going.
Mm-hmm. Well, Raffy got the offense going.
Yeah.
I think that's
what
it was.
He's been great to start everything we've expected and talked about in the offseason. But Sox hitters were 29th in league batting average going into this game today and 29th on base percentage. Just shows you that, a lineup this highly anticipated top 3 to top 5 lineup in the league coming into the year. Really slow start. I don't think it's anything really to be worried about necessarily yet.
Yeah.
I do think that we should work around the lineup.
If it's like this...
we talked about it. I think... Sorry for cutting you off, but I think Rafi should be hitting 3rd.
Yeah,
I think Xander should be hitting 2nd just because you need more guys on, especially if the 8, 9, and 1 hitters can't do it for you. If it was Verdugo 1, Xander 2, Rafi 3, and you worked something like that, maybe even through Story at 7 and lowered him back, I think that would help keep the bottom of the lineup going, but also put runners in scoring position and on the base paths for Rafi.
Well, I was thinking about this. Maybe even I like your idea about Verdugo leading off, but I think that is a really good on paper. I think it's a great idea, but I feel like they've tried that in the past.
Yeah.
And his average has dipped tremendously.
And he's hitting great. He's actually leading the team in hits right now.
I think we
Rafi.
just leave Doogie where he is right now. Maybe when Story gets back, maybe he can take lead off.
I was thinking about that. A little bit of the Kyle Schwarber power guy.
Yeah.
He's also fast. He's got speed to him.
And we saw what having a power bat like Schwarber's batting leadoff last year was. To me, that was the best offensive team in baseball I've seen in 5+ years, the last 5 years of playing. Last year, they were phenomenal. That was unbelievable. I feel like they had 7-8 guys who could hit the ball out of the park in any single at bat. So I thought that it was a great mix. It created a lot of momentum, and I think this Red Sox team, rides a lot on their momentum, their energy, their enthusiasm, and I think putting Story there at the one spot, him getting on base, and then Xander's he's like a guaranteed on base.
Oh, he's a beast.
And then you just have those two on for Rafi, and I think we're going to be putting up a lot of runs.
See, now I like that a lot, and I think we should toy around with that idea and test it out. But, and this is kind of obviously, I know you're not the biggest Bobby Dalbec fan, but to have a guy like Trevor Story maybe later in the lineup could be even bigger for this team. Right now, I know it's early, like we said, we keep mentioning it, but it's all we have to work on right now. Bobby Dalbec has the second best on base percentage on the team right now, surprisingly, and it's a lot because he draws walks. He has 2 walks this year.
I could be wrong. The numbers might allude otherwise from last year. I feel like he never got walked last year. I feel like he was just always swinging out of his shoes.
Yeah, and I mean he certainly is a strikeout guy. 5 strikeouts, tied for second most on the team so far. Mm-hmm. But if you do want to get that pop like a Schwarber guy at 1, and you kind of want to keep Story back in the bottom of the lineup to keep some pop there still, which I do like.
Yeah,
it's definitely possible. Dalbec at 1, maybe it's a little bit more of one of those things where, if you keep the walk numbers up and lower the strikeouts, it could be another guy that we might be able to toy with. I do think that Kike could step it up soon, and he showed today that he could get hot again. But, it's definitely something where this lineup's so good that within the next 2 weeks, if we're still struggling, still in the bottom half of the league and on base percentage, batting average, we should toy around. Because it's too good of a lineup not to.
Part of the reason that I want to push Story up to 1 is I think Kike would be a perfect 7-8 hitter in this lineup because he would be on base for when the top of the order came back up. Yeah. He's a great base runner. So I
believe what did he hit last year? He was like 8th, right?
He was like 8th until the playoffs, and then he got hot in the playoffs, moved him up to, I believe,
6th?
At one point he was batting 6th. 5th or 6th.
Something like that.
I think Kike would be perfect at the 7 spot, the 8 spot, somewhere around there. Maybe put him at 7 and then Dalbec at 8 and let Dalbec drive in Kike when he's on base.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of tinkering that needs to be done with this lineup.
Okay, let's get into some of the bright spots so far and some of the disappointments. Let's go bright spots first, though. I'm going to start off Garrett Whitlock. He's been a monster. Coming in, we weren't sure exactly. He might be the guy to step in for that closer role. We're going to touch on Matt Barnes in the disappointments in a second.
Yep.
But Garrett Whitlock, I mean, he's a guy that we weren't completely sure and sold on being the closer. But, I mean, if he didn't prove it today, he had a great outing against the Yankees. And then comes out today and goes 4 innings, no hits, 2 strikeouts, only 1 walk, and he gets the win. That's a gritty performance against a Tigers team that has been pretty hot with their bats so far.
Yeah.
And, I think we should give him the closer role. The only thing that I would say is if he can go 4 innings, a guy that can go 4 innings as a guy that can hold the run and keep the score the same for 2 to 3 to even 4 innings, is it a little bit of a waste to put him at closer?
Yeah, that's why
especially when you need the help.
That's why I would say don't put him at closer, and just for the reason you said it, we need so much help in the bullpen, and I think that he's just a big old Band-Aid that we can put all across the bullpen. It can solve a lot of issues for us.
Kind of like how Tanner Houck was in the playoffs.
Right. And I think that that's a perfect analogy, perfect comparison. I just think that we need to leave him in the role he is because we have two guys. Barnes will be coming back soon, and then we also have Jake Diekman. And I don't want to go into. Are we doing? We're doing surprises, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Diekman as one of my surprises. I have to cheat. I have to go with Diekman and Verdugo because I thought Verdugo was absolutely phenomenal this week. Both in the batter's box and on the field. He made 3 or 4 plays this weekend that were just insane. 3
diving plays, sliding plays at left.
And I've always loved his energy. He's just a gamer to me. He's a big game player. He's the kind of guy that you want in the batter's box in October. So I was a big fan of his work this week. I love Verdugo. And I also love Diekman. I believe he took down Judge, Stanton, and I believe it was Gallo third that he took out in the 9th inning for our only win in New York this week. So that was incredibly impressive. So I feel that if we can keep Whitlock in the role he's currently in, and then have Barnes be a bit of a setup man, and then have Diekman be our closer, I think we'd actually have a pretty decent bullpen, and I think we'd be set up to win around 92, 95 games.
And I completely agree with that. Also, touching on Garrett Whitlock a little bit more, we just extended him 2 days ago for a 4 year, right after his performance against the Yankees. We extended him for 4 years, total guaranteed nearly $19 million.
Yeah, that's a really good deal.
Yeah, pretty good deal.
That's just under 5. So, just under 5 a year, especially given the budget that the Red Sox have to work with. That is just such a valuable contract.
Yeah, and like we said, he could be huge for this team, especially. Like I'm going to touch on now, with this struggling bullpen, a big disappointment, Matt Barnes. We knew there was a lot of question marks coming in, whether it was with health or if it was just, did he lose it? Because there were reports that, obviously, it is spring training, but there were reports in the spring training that his fastball lost around 6 miles per hour. And, for a closer especially, you go out there and you bring a 6 mile per hour dip on your fastball, and you're going to get crushed.
Yeah.
And closers especially, if you don't have crazy stuff, you got to have some speed. And, what are we going to do without... What do you suggest we do without a guy like Matt Barnes at his peak, unless he comes back and it is just a health thing?
Well, in my opinion, it is just a health thing. That's my feel on it. I've always been a big fan of Matt Barnes. I understand why he's been extremely disappointing this season. I don't think any realistic Red Sox fan would say that he hasn't been extremely disappointing this year, but I think he will be back soon. I hope he figures it out.
Well, he did pitch an inning in, I believe it wasn't today's game, it was yesterday's game.
Well, I'm sorry, when I say back, I mean like back to himself. Himself.
But I do also want to mention to that he did come in, he did pitch an inning, allowed a hit, got a strikeout, no earned runs though. So, he could be working his way back, and that would be huge for this bullpen.
It would be,
but it's always good to kind of not completely look optimistically, because you want to be realistic.
Right.
And I think there's definitely a realistic, especially if you're hearing these rumors on his fastball, on his health. It is realistic to be like, all right, he's getting up there in age. Maybe he isn't going to be a real option for us. 9th, 8th inning, whatever it is, against a team with a lineup like the Yankees, you know?
Yep.
It's definitely something to look at.
But with that being said, I think if Whitlock can stay at the level he reached today, if he can be... for some reason, he reminds me of Andrew Miller, who just retired.
Yeah.
A guy who can go 3-4 innings deep in a relief appearance. I think Whitlock can even take it even further than that.
Oh, I think so too.
I think he can go, especially in a playoff type game, in a big game. I think he could reach around 5-6 innings. I think he is a really special player.
Okay. Do you have any more disappointments you want to touch on?
For a disappointment, I would have to say it kind of changed today because he had such a good game. But Kike, he was just struggling so much hitting wise.
Not only hitting, just getting on.
Yeah, he seemed a little antsy, which is natural. Coming into a new season. Also, Xander wasn't making the sharp defensive plays, but obviously it's early.
Yeah,
and I do think
he kind of hurt his ankle
did
a little bit.
In the first game, he did a little bit, but he told Corey that he was fine, he was ready to go. But Yeah, those would be my two. Xander, not in a big way, just kind of a, come on, Xander, like, you're better than this. We can pick it up a little bit.
Exactly, especially you want a contract.
Right.
Like he's asking for, Another thing I just want to touch on, I just saw in this Nets game, the Brooklyn Nets, apparently there's a "We Want Boston" chant from these Nets fans. So I feel like this rivalry is really not only just the New York versus Boston. Obviously, the Celtics are playing great right now.
Well, first of all, Yankees fans, your team isn't the Nets, it's the Knicks. Your team is just so bad that they won't be in the playoffs. So you have to bandwagon. You have to hop to the bandwagon in the other side. It's okay.
It's not allowed.
I understand it. I wouldn't do the same thing because I'm not a coward, but you guys are more than welcome to. We all know that your real team's the Knicks, and they haven't won in 50 years, so shut up.
So, I love it. So, coming back on the Red Sox, we've got another game against the Tigers tomorrow, 1 o'clock.
Yep.
I believe...
Do we know who's starting?
Yes, it's... Wow. Evaldi, and guess who we're playing? Pitching. Erod.
Wow.
So, we're going to go against Erod. A little bit of a reunion there.
Love that.
His player picture still has him on the Sox, so, I don't know if he's fully adjusted yet.
I love Erod.
Always a guy that I rooted for.
I really loved him. It's tough to see him leave the Sox because I was such a big fan, but honestly, it might have been a blessing in disguise. I think that he might have.
Well, he did want a lot of money.
He may have peaked too. I think he might have peaked in his career.
I could see that also.
So good luck to Erod, just not tomorrow.
No, definitely not tomorrow.
But yeah, and I think Evaldi needs a bit of a bounce back performance. He usually cooks the Yankees. He didn't quite do that opening day. I thought he had a good game, just not a great one. So, hopefully, he'll build on what he started opening day. I don't believe he didn't get the loss for opening day, right? No, Nate.
Evaldi, did he? No, he didn't.
Okay, so
7 Ks too. He was on his, he had his stuff going.
He had his stuff going. Just they took him deep a couple times. Obviously, that's going to happen in Yankee Stadium, especially with a fastball
one of them was
pitcher.
Ridiculous. Stanton's to right was.
Yeah.
I think it would only. I saw a metric. It would only have been a home run at one stadium, and that is Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
So basically as cheap as you get.
So it really but. I think he's going to figure it out tomorrow. I just have really high expectations for him this year. Obviously, I picked him to win the Cy Young, so I expect an elite outing
for sure.
4 out of every 5 appearances. So, sorry. He'll bounce back tomorrow for sure. I just want the bats to get going.
Bats need to get going. That's what we're relying on.
Do we have an update on Story at all, whether or not he's going to be
I will
ready
check.
to go?
I will check on that, but... To get on to our next, so we're against the Tigers next game, and then we open up with our series finally at home in Fenway. We have the 4-game series against the Twins, Minnesota Twins, now with Carlos Correa and Gary Sanchez and whatnot. Then we also stay at home, 3-game series against the Blue Jays, and then we go to the Rays around the 22nd.
Yeah.
I'll check on Trevor Story real quick, but for you, a question I want to pose. Are you revising your expectations at all for this season, judging off this first week so far?
I'll put it this way. Realistically, am I changing my opinion? Probably not. But the way they played this last week, that's not a 90-win team.
Yeah,
that's not even an 85-win team the way they played this week. So they have to get a lot better. Obviously, they have to improve a lot. But no, I'm not going to revise my expectations. I still have them around 93 wins, I'd say, fighting for a World Series championship. So I do think that there's a glaring hole in the bullpen, obviously. And
I think we need to touch on a couple positions. Most importantly, bullpen. Mm-hmm. I still think we might need to grab a starter, especially if Paxton and Sale aren't back. If Sale
can't figure it out. It's
for sure, and I do think. With all these other teams bolstering their squads, like we've seen this offseason, maybe one of the craziest off seasons ever. Why not go out there and grab Conforto, a guy that can give you 20 to 25 home runs, 80 RBIs, maybe a 250 or 270 hitter. He's a little bit of a more polished Bobby Dalbec as a hitter, definitely more polished, but he'll give you around the same slash line and stats. And then he's also a good defensive guy to have out there. I don't know necessarily how he'd play the Red Sox and Fenway, right field is a very difficult spot to play there. But I definitely think we should test the waters, and we shouldn't be done acquiring for the year. Also on Trevor Story, he is expected to come back tomorrow.
Okay.
But with that said, if he's not back tomorrow, it's guaranteed he'll be back for the Twins, most likely, fighting the flu. But so that's what we can expect. Hopefully that means he can start pulling it up, get his swing back, everything coming back, and he could be a nice asset on the bottom of this lineup.
Yeah, and just going back to our schedule the next few weeks. So as you said, we have the Twins, and then Blue Jays, and then Rays, and then Blue Jays again.
Yeah.
And then we have the Orioles, which is a bit of an easier series. But then we also have the Angels after that.
Tough start. It is a tough start.
It's a tough start, so you can't be playing like this out of the gate. This could really set you a ways back. You can't,
especially in a division like this.
It really is.
We're one of those teams. I don't think we should. We've got to have a nice start because we can't be playing from a loss.
Listen, we can't start out the gates 30 games through the season
down
like
10
games
7,
games under 500. We can't start like that this year. It's not that kind of division. So they need to pick it up, and it's the offense right now. They're not clicking on all cylinders like I expected them to. But then again, as I said earlier, a lot of their offense comes from their enthusiasm, the way they play together. And I think that just builds more throughout the season. So definitely. Give this team a month. They have a lot of tough opponents in this month. And if in May, the first week of May, they struggled against those good teams, those elite teams, then it might be time to revise our expectations.
For sure. And like you said, I'm not gonna switch any of my expectations yet. I do think that this team needs to start picking it up, pace of play, just overall energy and production. But I think that will happen. And I think a good way to wrap this pod up, Juan Soto just hit a 450-foot nuke for his 100th career home run against the Braves we're watching. So unless you have anything else to touch on, that's episode 8. We'll see you guys next, maybe Thursday, honestly, for another podcast. And we'll keep updating you guys throughout the year, throughout the rest of the season, between series, after series, reactions, if anything big goes down, injuries, God forbid. Trades, hopefully, maybe we grab a
Michael
relief
Conforto
guy.
signing.
Maybe Conforto. Hopefully some positive news coming up soon. And I think Josh Bell just hit a back-to-back home run.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's all we have for you.
Imagine if there was a team around these two guys.
So Sox fans, just be happy you're not the Nationals.
Yeah.
I guess that's it. So we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.